Meanwhile, the count continues in a small handful of cliffhanger electorates, including the volatile Western Australian seat of Hasluck. The Liberal candidate Ken Wyatt is now favoured to win the highly marginal seat and become Australia's first Indigenous member of the House of Representatives. He's now almost 800 votes in front, but with thousands of votes still to be counted, Labor isn't conceding defeat just yet. Danielle Parry reports from Perth.
I have been predicting for months in the seat of Hasluck that it would be a tough fight and a close fight and would come down to the wire.
It's not bad. Good to see you.
Look, the indications from all avenues of intelligence showed that this was going to be a very tight seat.
Given the tightness of this race and the question about who's ended up with the most seats, that this could be a seat that decides which of the two parties ends up with the most seats.
Thank you for your comments as well.
Just to try and create...
After months of campaigning, just a few hundred votes now separate the Labor and Liberal candidates in the ultra-marginal Perth seat of Hasluck.
At this stage we're looking at approximately 11,000 votes to count. We're still waiting on votes to come in from the interstate and overseas. The trend is heading towards the Liberal Party, and that's coming from all types of declaration envelopes we've looked at.
The electorate was created in 2001 and named after one of Western Australia's favourite political sons, one-time Governor-General Sir Paul Hasluck. It takes in a tangle of competing demographics.
Hasluck is on the eastern edge of Perth, basically up against the hills. Midland and Guildford are more business-type centres, and there's a more sort of suburban feel in there. Between them is a very large space of much bigger blocks, much more tree-change people, so you've got such a variety of voters. It's a very hard seat to campaign in.
I've tended to see it as 4 or 5 different communities rather than sort of one common electorate, and I think that's how they view it themselves. And I think with that kind of diversity and range of people, these sorts of swings is a product of the nature of the area.
The Labor incumbent, Sharon Jackson, has been through cliffhangers in Hasluck before. The former union official first won the seat in 2001, lost it 3 years later and wrestled it back again at the last election.
This is the 4th time I've contested the seat, and on every occasion it's been a very close fight. The last election in 2007, it took them 3.5 weeks to declare the seat. I certainly hope it won't be that long.
We have pounded the streets of Hasluck together.
A place in the history books is riding on the result for Liberal challenger Ken Wyatt. The senior health and education bureaucrat will be the first Indigenous person to sit in the House of Representatives if he can win the seat.
By breaking out of the brown glass ceiling, you demonstrate that you have skills and capacity and abilities that is commensurate with anybody else who sits in that House of Parliament.
Ken Wyatt is keen to follow in the footsteps of his nephew, Ben Wyatt, who sits on the other side of the political fence as Shadow Treasurer in the state Labor opposition. Ken Wyatt is surprised the federal lower house hasn't seen an Indigenous member sooner.
I'm just in the right place at the right time with the backing of people who clearly knew that I was Indigenous, but also saw the other qualities I had.
Oh, I think it's shown that an Indigenous candidate can do the job, and if you pick the right candidate, he or she has the skills, has the ability to do the job properly, and I think all parties should take a real strong lesson, clear lesson from this.
If he wins, Ken Wyatt says he wants to influence the way politicians think about Indigenous people and government policy.
What I want to do is see and I've described it as a filter of thinking around, okay, if we move forward on this program or this initiative, how will it be inclusive of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people?
Whether Ken Wyatt gets the chance to do that will depend on postal votes, many of them cast by mine workers for whom Labor's resources tax loomed large.
A good percentage of these are likely to be fly-in, fly-out type workers who have clear interests in, the mining industry and a sense that it's under threat due to a tax. And so, I do think the postals will tend to go toward the Liberal Party.
One young family I was talking to said, look, I fly in, fly out. My finances are geared around having continuity of work. And if the project I'm working on, it comes to an end and the new one doesn't continue, then he said, I've got a major problem with my finances.
I think there's a sentiment that Western Australia doesn't necessarily get the recognition and credit for the contribution that it makes to the broader nation, and I felt that myself, and so I think it was a well-placed scare campaign.
The outcome isn't looking good for Sharon Jackson, but a definitive result won't be known until Saturday at the earliest. Until then, the chance to be Australia's king or queen maker hangs in the balance.
I just want to relax, I just want to take it easy, and when the bottom line comes in, that's when I'll either worry or rejoice.
I wish I had a crystal ball. I have absolutely no idea how this is going to finish. Can I say it's nice to have the nation's attention on a West Australian seat?